Is your wife Priscilla with you?
No, she's not.
Elvis Presley didn't just die in his bathroom. He left behind a sealed autopsy, missing medical details, and a decades-long mystery no one has fully cracked. What are they hiding until 2027? Stay tuned as we uncover the overlooked secrets that could finally reveal the king's true final moments. The scene at Graceland. Elvis Presley was last seen alive around 8 a.m. on August 16, 1977. Hours later, around 2 p.m., he was found unresponsive in the bathroom of his Graceland mansion in Memphis, Tennessee. Ginger Alden, his girlfriend at the time, made the discovery. But here's where it gets confusing. The official report claims he was found in his dressing room, not the bathroom. Was this just a mistake, or a subtle attempt to avoid scandal? The timeline also doesn't quite add up. Elvis was found at 2 p.m., but the time of death was listed as 3:30 p.m. The police weren't called until after that. It raises the question, what was happening in that unaccounted time frame? Why was there such a long delay before authorities were involved? At Graceland, there was an eerie quiet. No immediate sirens, no frantic calls, no rush of emergency personnel. It was as if those around Elvis tried to keep things under control, or under wraps. In those critical moments, the decision to delay calling for help might have been fatal. Or maybe someone didn't want the world to see what they had already seen. Elvis was officially declared dead at Baptist Memorial Hospital, but most reports agree he was likely already gone when found. Rigor mortis had already set in, a detail that suggests he had been dead for several hours. This makes the 3:30 p.m. time of death even more suspicious. It feels like the timeline was adjusted to fit a narrative. A key detail in the report is that he was alone when he died. Despite being one of the most famous men in the world, Elvis took his final breath alone on the floor. No witnesses, no final words, just silence. It was a lonely and undignified end for a man once idolized on global stages, and yet no one seemed to question it at the time. The bathroom itself was in chaos. Prescription bottles, reading material, and signs of distress told their own story. Elvis had reportedly been struggling with chronic constipation and heart problems. It wasn't a place of peace, it was a space of pain and struggle. What's strange is how quiet his team remained afterward. There was no press conference, no detailed public statement. The people closest to Elvis appeared either shocked or scared. Maybe both. And in that silence, the myths began to grow. There are still questions about who found him first and how long he had been in the bathroom. The official story says Ginger Alden found him at 2 p.m., but rumors suggest others may have seen him earlier. If that's true, the delay becomes even more suspicious. Was someone trying to clean up the scene? Or were they just too afraid of the media storm? Also curious is the claim that Elvis's body was moved before the police arrived. Rigor mortis would have made movement difficult, yet some say he was dressed before being taken to the hospital. If that happened, it raises another question. Was something being covered up? And if so, why? There's even speculation that Elvis had been trying to use the toilet when he collapsed. Given his known health issues, particularly chronic constipation and suspected megacolon, this could have triggered a heart attack. But again, the lack of detail in official reports makes it hard to confirm. All we know is that he collapsed in one of the most private moments of his life. The world learned of his death later that day. News reports stated heart failure, a vague explanation for such a public loss. Fans were devastated, but few questioned the facts at the time. Graceland mourned in silence, and the mystery deepened. Elvis had died, but the full truth remained hidden. In the hours following his death, only a handful of people had access to his body and the scene. That small group controlled the flow of information. They decided what the public should know and when. And with Vernon Presley's order to seal the autopsy, the full picture was kept locked away. But why seal the truth unless there was something to hide? We're left with missing time, inconsistent locations, and a lot of silence. The first chapter of Elvis's death isn't just about a collapse. It's about confusion. And that confusion created space for rumors, legends, and theories that still live today. But as strange as the timeline is, the autopsy report itself raises even more questions. That's where things get even darker. Inside Graceland, Elvis's body was discovered in a way that shocked even his closest friends. Something didn't add up. The autopsy that raised more questions. Elvis Presley's autopsy was expected to offer clarity, but it did the opposite. What was released publicly amounted to just 2 pages, brief, vague, and shockingly incomplete. It left out essential details like his weight, time of death, and even body temperature. For someone as globally known as Elvis, such omissions feel bizarre. Not just careless, possibly calculated. The report officially listed the cause of death as a heart attack, more formally, cardiac arrhythmia. But that's a symptom, not a root cause. It's a broad term that doesn't explain what triggered the fatal collapse. This wasn't a healthy man struck down by surprise. There were deeper issues. Even more curious is the fact that toxicology results weren't detailed in the public version. For someone with a known history of prescription abuse, this absence is glaring. A toxicology report is standard in high-profile deaths, so why was this one kept so quiet? Dr. Jerry Francisco, the medical examiner who signed the report, quickly called it a natural death. That phrase became the official explanation across headlines. But Francisco made that statement before the toxicology tests even came back. How could he be so sure? That kind of confidence, without proof, invites questions. Elvis's longtime physician, Dr. George Nicopolis, was already known for overprescribing medications. Nicknamed Dr. Nick, he had given Elvis thousands of doses in the final years of his life. The omission isn't just odd, it looks protective. Maybe of Dr. Nick, maybe something bigger. Vernon Presley, Elvis's father, requested that the full autopsy be sealed for 50 years. That's an unusually long time to keep medical records private. It means the full file won't be available until 2027. This wasn't just about protecting family privacy, it sounds like damage control. But from what? Another strange part of the report is how basic stats were missing. Elvis's weight wasn't listed, even though he was reportedly over 300 pounds at the time of his death. Body temperature, a crucial clue for determining time of death, was also skipped. These are routine details in any autopsy. Their absence here makes no sense, unless someone didn't want them public. Some speculate the omissions were due to embarrassment. Elvis had drastically changed in his final years, bloated, ill, and far from his peak. Maybe the report was edited to preserve his image. But others think it was a move to shield people close to him, like his doctors and handlers. People who could have faced serious consequences. What's even more puzzling is the contradiction between the clean official report and what others said privately. Close friends and some staff members later hinted that Elvis had been struggling with serious medical conditions like liver damage, bowel issues, and early signs of organ failure. These don't line up with the neat natural death claim. They suggest something more chronic and chaotic. There's also the idea that labeling it as a natural death helped avoid criminal investigations. It shifted blame away from people who may have enabled his decline. And it helped preserve the legend. Another layer to this puzzle is who performed the autopsy. The team included Dr. Francisco, who had strong ties to Memphis authorities. Some have suggested he was under pressure to keep things tidy. Whether that's true or not, the speed and simplicity of the final report looks suspicious. It's as if the goal was to move past the facts, not reveal them. The decision to seal the full report only deepens the mystery. It suggests there was something in there too damaging to reveal. Not just sad facts about health, but potentially dangerous truths about who was involved and what went unchecked. The Presley estate may have also wanted to protect Elvis's marketability. A scandal would have hurt the brand. Even Elvis's death certificate lists conflicting information. The location of death has been questioned, with some reports switching between Graceland and the hospital. Basic facts like time of death shifted across reports. That kind of inconsistency doesn't happen by accident. It shows a lack of transparency from the beginning. One overlooked detail is the role of private security. Elvis's personal staff had access to him hours before police did. They also likely had time to clean up or move things. We can't say they covered anything up, but their early involvement limits what investigators could confirm. It means the scene wasn't fully intact when police arrived. And here's where it gets even more interesting. Some reports suggest there were medications in Elvis's system not listed on any prescription logs. That kind of shadow care hints at something deeper, an unregulated approach to managing his health. Ultimately, the autopsy failed to explain how Elvis really died. It wrapped up a messy, complicated situation in a short, neat conclusion. But when you pull the thread, it unravels fast. From sealed files to missing facts, the report looks more like a cover than a confession. And with 2027 fast approaching, the real story may still be waiting to come out. A body in crisis. By the time Elvis Presley died in 1977, his body had changed dramatically from the fit performer fans remembered. He was reportedly over 300 pounds, with a bloated face and enlarged midsection. His skin looked pale. His movements had slowed, and even his stage outfits had to be specially made to hide the weight gain. This wasn't just aging, it was a serious physical decline. And it all pointed to a deeper health crisis happening behind the scenes. Elvis's physical breakdown didn't happen overnight. It was the result of years of medication use, poor eating habits, and a lack of physical activity. While all of his medications were legally prescribed, the number was shocking. He was reportedly taking dozens of pills a day, painkillers, sleeping pills, stimulants, and sedatives. His doctors wrote the scripts, but his body paid the price. One of the most disturbing details about Elvis's health came years later with a theory called megacolon. It suggested that he suffered from severe and chronic constipation so bad that his colon may have been nearly twice the size of a normal person's. Some experts estimate it could have weighed up to 40 pounds at the time of his death. That much waste sitting in the body isn't just uncomfortable. It's dangerous. It can put extreme pressure on the heart and other organs. Elvis's diet didn't help either. He was known for eating rich, greasy foods in large amounts: fried peanut butter and banana sandwiches, burgers, and Southern comfort meals. Over time, that kind of stress on the digestive system can trigger major heart problems. Many fans believe he simply had a heart attack and died, but the situation was more complex. The strain of being constantly backed up, along with being heavily medicated and overweight, likely pushed his body to the limit. Trying to use the bathroom could have been the final stressor. For someone in such poor internal health, even that was risky. That's why some believe his death actually began in his gut, not his heart. Another hidden issue was his liver. Years of medication and poor health had reportedly damaged it, though this wasn't widely known at the time. A damaged liver can lead to fatigue, mood swings, and difficulty processing medications, things Elvis often showed in his final years. It also adds to the theory that his whole system was failing, piece by piece. Outwardly, he wore flashy jumpsuits, but inside, he was falling apart. Elvis's health was also affected by his isolation. In his final months, he rarely left Graceland. His world had shrunk to a small circle of staff, doctors, and close friends. Without fresh air, exercise, or a regular sleep schedule, his physical state kept getting worse. He was only 42, but his body was aging fast. In many ways, he was living more like a patient than a pop icon. A shocking part of this story is how much was hidden from the public. His appearances on stage were carefully controlled. Lighting, camera angles, and wardrobe choices all worked to make him look better than he really was. Fans saw the voice and charisma, but they didn't see the struggle backstage. They didn't know that walking or breathing could be difficult for him by the end. What makes Elvis's decline so unique is that it wasn't caused by alone. It was a mix of physical, emotional, and medical issues all working against him. His colon issues, liver problems, obesity, and prescription habits formed a deadly mix. He didn't have one disease, he had a broken system. He looked like a legend, but he lived like a prisoner in a failing body. Doctors at the time were unsure how to handle someone like Elvis. He wasn't just a patient, he was a star, and that meant special treatment. Many believe he was overprescribed out of fear or loyalty, but the result was the same. His health kept declining while those around him watched. One new insight that rarely gets attention is how Elvis may have had an undiagnosed autoimmune disorder. Some researchers believe his symptoms, fatigue, swelling, and digestive issues, match those seen in diseases like lupus or Crohn's. If true, it would explain why so many systems in his body were malfunctioning at once. But without access to his full medical records, it remains speculation. Still, it shows how complex his situation may have been. Most autopsies go public. Elvis's was sealed tight. Could it be hiding the truth about what really killed him? Mystery of the sealed autopsy. When Elvis Presley died in 1977, his autopsy was done like any other. But something strange happened afterward. His father, Vernon Presley, requested that the full report be sealed for 50 years. That means the public won't see it until 2027. This isn't normal. Most autopsy reports, even for celebrities, are made available soon after death. So why the secrecy? What was in that document that Vernon didn't want anyone to see? Some say it was to protect Elvis's privacy, but others believe there was more at stake. Fans and experts have asked the same question for decades. Was something so damaging in that file it had to stay locked away for half a century? That kind of delay invites suspicion. One theory is simple embarrassment. At the time of his death, Elvis was still seen as a cultural icon. His clean public image, despite a few known struggles, was important to preserve. Vernon may have sealed the report to protect his son's legacy. But embarrassment alone may not explain it. Another theory points to possible legal risks. If the report listed dangerous levels of prescription, it could have opened the door for lawsuits. Doctors who treated Elvis might have been held responsible. It wasn't just about protecting Elvis. It could have been about shielding others too. There were rumors, even then, that more substances were found in his body than what was publicly released. Some said it included a mix of powerful medications, enough to raise serious questions about medical oversight. There's also the question of reputation. Elvis wasn't just a singer, he was a symbol of American culture. A complete breakdown of his health and physical condition might have changed how fans saw him. Vernon may have feared that the truth would be too much. He didn't want his son remembered for weakness or failure. Another possible angle involves insurance or estate issues. If the autopsy revealed that Elvis's death wasn't truly natural, that might have affected payouts, property claims, or contracts. Money was at stake. A sealed report kept things simple, at least for the time being. It removed the chance of messy legal fights or questions from business partners. Some researchers believe the autopsy may also include data that didn't match the official cause of death. The public was told he died of a heart attack, but if the toxicology results, organ damage, or internal injuries told a different story that could create confusion. It could even lead people to think his death was preventable. That would have been a major controversy back in 1977. Here's a detail many people overlook: the timing of the seal. Vernon didn't just ask for a delay, he asked for exactly 50 years. That's unusually long. It suggests he wanted to push the release far enough into the future that the people involved wouldn't be around to face consequences. It also means fans would be older, and the shock might be softer by then. A new insight to consider is this: the sealed report might contain clues about how deep Elvis's medical issues really were. We know about megacolon, liver damage, and prescription drugs. But what if there were signs of earlier strokes, kidney failure, or untreated infections? These things might have been missed or ignored. If they're in the report, it could shift the entire story of how he died. Another idea is that the sealed file includes private notes or doctor communications. These could reveal disagreements between medical staff, warnings that were ignored, or last-minute decisions that backfired. It might read like a timeline of small failures that led to a major tragedy. In that case, the report isn't just medical. It's a record of everything that went wrong. It's also worth noting how unique this case is. Other celebrities have had their autopsies released. That sealed envelope in Tennessee is different. It may be the final piece in a puzzle that's never truly made sense. As 2027 gets closer, interest in the autopsy is growing. Fans, researchers, and the media are all waiting. What will they find? Will it confirm what we already know, or will it change everything? Either way, what's inside that envelope could be the key to understanding one of the most mysterious celebrity deaths in American history. The small details that speak volumes. Elvis Presley's death was reported as sudden, but the medical report left behind a trail of small telling clues. One of the first signs was rigor mortis, when the body stiffens after death. It sets in within hours and can help estimate the time someone passed. Alongside this, livor mortis was noted, where gravity pulls the blood downward, causing purple discoloration. These two signs together suggest Elvis had been dead for a while before he was officially found. Another detail in the report was a pressure mark under one of his eyes. It raised questions. Did Elvis collapse face first? Or was this bruise formed after death as his body settled? Some experts say the mark looked like trauma from a fall, hinting that he may have lost consciousness suddenly and hit the ground hard. There was also a thoracotomy scar, basically a large cut on the chest. This kind of incision is used in emergency medical efforts, especially during CPR or surgery. It means there was at least one attempt to revive him after he was found. But how long had he been unresponsive? That scar suggests effort, but it may have come too late to matter. It leads to an uncomfortable question. Was everything done to try and save him? Or were the medical efforts mostly symbolic, knowing the outcome was already clear? His condition when found, paired with the rigor mortis, points to a delay. He might have died earlier than reported. That alone could explain why the revival didn't succeed. Now, here's where the report starts to feel off. Most modern autopsy files include full toxicology panels, clear lists of substances found in the system. But Elvis's public record doesn't include these in full. Instead, details were limited, general, or even omitted. Was this intentional, or just a reflection of how things were done in 1977? For a global superstar, revealing a long list of drugs might have done more damage than good. But in hiding those results, the report became more suspicious. People assumed the worst, because no one showed the facts. That silence created more questions than answers. Another strange part is how vague the report was. Compared to modern celebrity autopsies, Elvis's file feels almost empty. There's no full list of medications, no detailed timeline of his final hours, and barely any notes on the condition of each organ. Today, autopsies are loaded with pages of information. Elvis's was thin, almost as if it was meant to keep things unclear. One new angle worth exploring is how this lack of detail might have protected reputations. If names of doctors or dosages had been listed, people could have faced blame. By keeping things vague, everyone involved was shielded. It became a way to close the case without opening a scandal. That may explain why no one pushed harder for the full truth. Also missing from the public record are the finer medical findings. Things like tissue damage, organ weight, or chemical breakdowns often appear in such reports. But Elvis lacks that depth. It makes it harder to understand what really caused the heart failure. Was it just one issue, or a perfect storm of many? It's also important to note how much we know now compared to then. Medical science has advanced a lot. In Elvis's time, doctors may have missed signs or treated symptoms without understanding the full picture. The report reflects that gap in knowledge. Another unique insight is that the physical state of his body tells more than the words on paper. The bloating, the scar, the discoloration. These speak louder than the written summary. He wasn't just found unresponsive. He had likely suffered quietly, internally, for a long time. The report, sparse as it is, shows a man whose body had been breaking down long before August 16, 1977. Elvis's death didn't end the legend, it supercharged it. And the mystery might be exactly how he wanted it to last. How Elvis's death became his final legend. Elvis Presley wasn't just a singer, he was a symbol. His voice, his look, and his presence turned him into something bigger than life. And when he died, that myth only grew stronger. Fans didn't just grieve, they questioned. His death became a part of his story, as mysterious and captivating as his rise to fame. Right after his passing, rumors started flying. Some believed he had faked his death to escape fame. Others said he was spotted at gas stations or living in disguise on a tropical island. These weren't just random stories, they became part of pop culture. The more people talked, the harder it became to separate truth from fantasy. The secrecy around his autopsy only made things worse. Unlike most cases, his report was sealed for 50 years by a personal request. That move made people wonder, what was so important that it had to be hidden for half a century? It wasn't just about privacy anymore. It became the spark for endless theories. That sealed report has become a kind of legend on its own. Fans and researchers keep asking the same question: what's inside it? If there was nothing unusual, why lock it away for decades? Every bit of silence added weight to the mystery. Instead of giving closure, the secrecy became part of the story. We're now getting closer to 2027, the year it's set to be unsealed. For some, it's a countdown to truth. For others, it's just the next chapter in a long list of unanswered questions. Will it finally solve the mystery, or will it just create more? When that envelope opens, the world will be watching. This mystery has lasted longer than many of Elvis's chart-topping songs. Over the years, fans have tried to piece things together. Some analyze photos from the funeral. Others chase down people who knew him in his final days. But without the official record, it's all just a guessing game. There's also a deeper angle that's rarely explored. Maybe the secrecy wasn't just about what Elvis had in his system or how he died. Maybe it was about preserving an image. At the time, his reputation mattered to millions, including his family and business partners. Protecting that could have been more important than full disclosure. In fact, the silence may have worked in his favor. By keeping the details hidden, Elvis became more than a person. He became a story. His fans didn't just love his music. They loved the mystery, the debate, the search for clues. His death became part of his brand. Another insight is how the mystery kept Elvis relevant. New generations may not know all his songs, but they've heard about the conspiracy theories. The secrecy gave people a reason to keep talking about him. It turned his ending into a puzzle everyone wants to solve. That alone keeps his name alive. Even now, investigators and writers revisit his case. Podcasts, books, and documentaries continue to explore every angle. But none of them can answer the core question until 2027. And maybe that's the point. Some stories are built to last, not because they're complete, but because they're unfinished. When that sealed report is opened, it might clear up the timeline. It could show the exact cause of death, the medications involved, or the final moments. But it might also be disappointing. After all the hype, it may not have anything new at all. Still, people will tune in, hoping for that final clue. That moment will also test how much truth fans really want. Some prefer the mystery. It's more exciting than facts. Others want answers, no matter how simple or sad. Either way, the release will be a cultural event. As 2027 gets closer, the pressure builds. Experts will analyze every page. Fans will share theories online. News outlets will cover it like a major story. And everyone will want to be the first to say they understand what really happened. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Click on the next video popping up on your screen for more amazing content.